Hey YouTube, it's been a while since I've posted anything, since my SEMA X8C videos with FPV. Anyways, it's been about a year now, and I've actually built several hobby-grade quads, starting off with your ZMR kit, pretty basic quad racer with really cheap parts, and then I went on to build a Quantum Venture, a big FPV cruiser ARF kit, basically, and I added a CC3D and your basic boss cam FPV system. It's been a great cruiser. Get about 20 minutes or more flight time with the big 5200 milliamp batteries. But I kind of wanted something maybe a little sportier, so I didn't have time to build another ZMR with the really cheap and contentious parts that kind of left me grounded a lot of the times. So I ended up buying an ARF Iching racer, the 250 racer. That was great. It seemed like a lot of value, a lot of good reviews on these things. But I actually had experienced a bunch of weird quality control issues and power loss that I couldn't ever resolve. And no one online, any of the forums could ever tell me exactly what was going on. So it was basically just losing power gradually, and it'd fall out of the sky, and I just couldn't fly it anymore. Never could figure it out, so I decided after a while I was going to buy the kit that I wanted a long time ago when it first came out, but is now much cheaper in price. So I went to eBay and I found the Robocat, the Robocat 270. It's actually about the same size and weight as the Iching racer frame, but it's all carbon fiber, so it's much lighter. Not lighter, but it's much tougher. It's actually a really cool kit because it has an articulating frame that opens up, and you can squeeze a lot of components in there, all neat and nicely tucked in. And for most people who buy these things, these Robocats, I think they know going into it that it's not exactly the lightest, smallest, fastest racing quad. So since I'm not really in it for competitive racing or any crazy freestyle acrobatics, I just wanted a FPV cruiser that was more agile, nimble than my big 430 sized Venture. And it won't have as much runtime, obviously, but that's all good. Anyways, on eBay they're under $100 now for everything but the receiver and FPV systems, which I was going to cannibalize anyways from my messed up Iching racer. So I figured, I can pull the trigger. I have a little bit of time to build this, and I ended up going with one for $90 on eBay from a U.S. retailer, so I wouldn't take too long to get from China. And when I got it, I didn't take any pictures, unfortunately, but when I got it, I basically assembled it within 2 days and had it flying really quickly. So that was actually a way better experience than the ZMR 250 that I got. Anyways, it has very much the same components as the Iching racer, a CC3D, and 2204 size motors. And like I said, I was just going to cannibalize the receiver and FPV stuff out of the Iching racer, as long as also the lights too. I was going to go with the headlights that are the eyeballs of the racer. I'm going to throw these on here. So here it is. I've got little pieces, on my workbench here. It's up against all my other old racers or old quads. I went with a separate power distribution board, a Maytech one with the built-in BEC 12 and 5 volt. I've actually decided that even though it came with the actual 12 volt ESCs, Emax ones with a BEC built in, I was going to add my power to my receiver and flight controller via the distribution board, and at the same time, another channel, another ESC plug was coming from one of the BECs for the ESC. So that had kind of a dual backup power in case the BEC, the board BEC actually went out or something. I've had some brownouts with the bigger Venture, and I ended up adding a separate BEC in addition to the BEC built into the ESCs. If you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. Anyways, so I have the frame assembled here. I'm testing the motors and setting up the flight controller and everything. And it's working pretty well. I have it actually all put together here in just a very basic form just for hovering flight test. And it works pretty great, actually. It was perfect the first time around. Building quads before, it's really paid off. I decided to go ahead and throw the lights on this shot here, and I've got the headlights mounted on the back arms. Reason being is it was helping to balance out the back a little bit to get the center of gravity right. And also, I don't really need it for, it's not headlights. I don't need it for illumination for night flying per se, but it's really more for orientation, and I kind of want it to illuminate the sides of the quad itself. It's a cool looking quad. Again, that's probably why most people buy this quad. It has a really neat look to it. It's very sleek and fast, and it's just cool. I have to admit that kind of got me from a design perspective. Now I'm gonna probably decorate it like I always personalize my quads to make it a little cooler looking. Anyways, I stuck a red light in the back, and I like having the red lights in the back. I don't know why some quads have them in the front. It's like a brake light, right? It's like a tail light of a car. It should be in the back. That's just natural for me. Anyways, here it is, pretty much assembled. It's a little hefty, even without the battery. But again, I knew that going into it. This is around the same weight as the Ichiin Racer, same size too, bigger than a 250 standard quad. It works out pretty well. The lights go on nicely. It's a sharp looking craft. It's definitely fun to fly so far. Here's a picture with it against a little SEMA X11, which is my indoor FPV quad, the little camera on top. It's tiny. It's kind of cool though. Here's the inside, the articulating frame. You can kind of see. Here's the little battery checker in the back here, and then there's the supposed 600 milliwatt VTX from the Ichiin Racer. It has a built-in OSD, which is kind of nice. And then I have the receiver, which is one of the cheaper FlySky receivers, which I've been using. I went from the T6 to the i6 system, which is definitely cheaper looking as far as the control goes, but it's definitely, I think, more reliable as far as the actual connection, the reliability of not having brownouts or having a better signal overall and less interference. So that's all cool. Over here is a CC3D, and I have a little alarm buzzer on top there. It's attached to channel 3, the throttle control basically. So if I don't touch the throttle for a good minute or two, it starts to beep, and so I can find this in the tall grass or something like that. And the whole thing just it's a clamshell, just closes over onto itself. I went ahead and decided I was going to go with a military kind of look to this. I'm not the first person to use the P-50 Warhawk stickers, or actually model decals, or water slide model decals. I got these on eBay, but I didn't want to go with a camouflage matte dark color frame because, from the practicality of finding this in the woods and the bushes and tall grass and stuff. But I wanted to give it, a cool military look, and so I went with the shark mouth, from the P-40, and I went with the RAF symbols on the sides. But I kept it bright and stripy looking here, so it kind of has a racer look to it. I kind of like the whole Xenomorph, RAF Xenomorph kind of look to it. This is just a pad here, a wedge-shaped foam pad that I would strap my run cam or Mobius on top with. Here's a picture of it basically being clear-coated so that the water slide decals doesn't rub off. I took a lot of pictures of this after I finished it because it's cool looking, and I put a lot of work into that for some reason. Probably more time than actually building the quad. It's kind of funny, but and I know it's going to get beat up and scratched up, and probably this frame's going to get cracked and everything. So I decided to go ahead and just document how cool it looks now before that all goes away. Anyways, I'm going to show you a little bit of footage of me flying this thing. It's kind of a cool first flight because everything was it's set up in Open Pilot, or actually Libre Pilot, and it was totally just stock settings, still in attitude mode and everything. And I fly on mode 4, which is kind of weird. But it was very smooth. It lifted off perfectly. It was very stable. A little bit of waggle and wiggle here and there. A little bit of vibration. I have to adjust the PIDs there. But it was actually really perfect the first time. Just hovering around, very controllable. here's me kind of just, you know, flying around the empty parking lot that's near my house. It flies very much like the Iching Racer because it's about the same size and weight, and I'm still using 3S batteries. I never really went away from Open Pilot and PWM and 3S batteries. I'm still pretty basic when it comes to that. Even a year later after building my first quads. But, you know, it works fine for me. You know, eventually I might want to actually put in some 20 amp ESCs in this thing and use some 6-inch props that I do have, because these 5-inch bullnose props, they're great, but because of the weight of this thing, you know, it's kind of rough on it. It's not as agile. I'll probably get tired of its performance after a while, even after tuning. I can probably put 4S on this thing, but I don't know. With those 12-inch or 12 amp ESCs, the Emax ones, I'll probably end up frying it, especially if I put 6-inch props. I might actually try 5-inch 3-bladed props with the 30-degree pitch instead of the 45 bullnose. That might be, you know, a little more locked in without, you know, having to change a lot of stuff. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Here's me at the park, and I'm flying FPV with, you know, very basic settings again. Just, you know, I can't go too far because there's a lot of people in the perimeter of the park here, and this is one of my first flights, so I don't want to, you know, have something go weird on me. I'm using the Quantum goggles that they have, the version 2, for the big monitor and big Fresnel lens. It works out pretty well, actually. I do like it. I like the wide field of view, and it's been, you know, for the price, you can't really fault that. It's been a pretty good, funny looking, you know, thing on your face, but it's been a pretty good piece of equipment. Some kid at the park actually thought I was mentioning to his friend that I was wearing an Oculus Rift or something, but, you know. Anyways, so here it is, some more Glamour Shots. It's, you know, it'll probably get beat up before too long, so. I really like it a lot. It's like I said, one of the best looking quads, even a year after it came out. It's aggressive looking, but, you know, kind of festive too, so. Anyways, I really recommend building one of these if you're still kind of just new into quads, because like I said, it came together pretty much like a ZMR, but it looks cooler, and it was actually easier because it has more space in it to work and do stuff inside of it. It's roomy as far as components go, so if you're not really into the lightest, fastest, most high performance, you know, competitive racing quads out there, then you know, this is actually not a bad deal, especially since they're pretty much $100 or under